When the chaos of popular culture makes your brain hurt, you really need relief in the form of a transfusion of analysis and humor. It's time for a POPeration. Join hosts Eric and Stacey as they dissect pop culture, one bloody organ at a time. It's just what the doctor ordered.
Hello.
Hi there.
This is Stacey.
This is Eric.
And this is POPeration. And this is all about award shows. Artists congratulating themselves on how absolutely fabulous they are at their art, at their craft. Swear to God, I hate that word so much, craft. It reminds me of Michaels or Joanne Fabrics every damn time. But you hear artists say it all the time, and, you know, I have to work on my craft. Shut up. And anyway, so we have award shows, which I guess I've kind of colored how I feel about them in my introduction. Yeah. Because here's what my title of this episode, my working title was, And the Loser Is the Audience.
Oh, gosh.
Award shows. Why so many? Why so many? That's a big question I have. Do you know how many there are? I mean, and there are like, I think I went and looked like there were like, I don't have them on my list here, but there's like hundreds of them. These aren't even, I'm gonna start in the A's, and I'm just gonna start listing some of the award shows. There's the Academy Awards, of course, the AFI Top 10, the American Cinema Editors, Eddie Awards, the American Cinematographers, American Country Music, BAFTA, BET, Billboard, Boston Society of Film Critics, British Independent Film
And we're only
Award,
in the B's.
Chicago Film Critics Association. First of all, fun fact, I noticed that every single Film Critics Association, and every city has one, they have their own awards. Yep. So you could literally, say you act in one movie, you could literally spend every week that year, every 3 days that year going to another award show.
Well, it's interesting because every time they talk about, horse betting the Oscars, right, and trying to figure out, who's going to get the Oscar, because the Oscar, at least for film, is obviously the big one, right? People dream about getting an Oscar. No one dreams as a little girl about winning a Chicago Film Critics Association award.
Although when you go and you accept your award at Chicago Film Critics Association,
it'd be my dream come
you're
true.
Grateful.
Oh yeah.
As a little girl in Nashville, Tennessee, I wanted to win this.
But my point is, they always talk about, well, this person's already won BAFTA and the Golden Globe and the SAG Award, so they're pretty much a shoo-in for, and so there's this whole string of, like, the award, it's become this meta thing that we do.
Yep.
Where there's this whole season.
There's award season, and usually that is talking about specifically the movie film awards season.
Beginning of the year. It's the big film awards season.
Right. But I mean, again, there's Billboard Music. There's the Emmys, of course. The Golden Globes, the Golden Tomato, which Rotten Tomatoes puts out, which is kind of entertaining. There's the iHeartRadio.
Now, what's the Golden Tomato? Is the Golden Tomato just the best reviewed film of the year? Is that?
I think they do both. I think they do those who get the worst and those who get the best in Rotten Tomatoes. But yeah, I mean, they do the best. And I noticed that on my television, I have Verizon. And when you look, a movie comes up and you highlight it, it will tell you the Rotten Tomatoes. They've gotten a good gig there. And it tells you the Rotten Tomatoes, both the critics and the audience. And anyway, that's, people care. Kids' Choice Award, iHeartRadio, the Latin AMAs, the MTV Movie. I never got that one. The MTV Movie Music, and then they also have MTV Music Video.
Well, because the MTV Movie Awards are there because the movies that win an MTV Movie Award with that golden thing of popcorn, they're not going to win an Oscar. I mean, and I think that for the MTV audience, they want to see something win Best Picture that's something more along the lines of, I'm really going to date myself, Mean Girls or something like that, as opposed to Moonlight. Which is not going to, which the MTV audience does not want to see.
No. Do you know that MTV also has an award show? This was fascinating in looking up award shows, or there were some that I didn't know existed. The MTV Woodies. It's not what you think.
And what did I think? That was the dirty line.
I would never, ever guess at that. That would be rude. It is for new artists in music, but I've never heard it, and I've never heard anyone say, and we got the MTV Woody, because first of all, it sounds awful when you say that.
Yeah, that does.
But it actually exists. The NAACP Image Awards, the New York Film Critics, Peabody, People's Choice, the Razzies, of course, that's the worst of the year from the National Lampoon.
Sure, yeah.
SAG, you already talked about, Teen Choice, the Tonys, the Visual Effects Society Awards.
Okay, well.
Writers Guild of America. Okay, that's like a total. I didn't read everything that's on my list, and B, that's not even all of the ones that are out there. But I'm just like, okay, why do we need that many awards, or do we?
Well, clearly we don't. But I think the thing that does differentiate them, and the reason why each one of those awards programs would justify their existence, is that different people vote for those different things, right? So to get an Academy Award, you have to be a member of the Academy in order to vote for that.
Right.
And then you said like the People's Choice, and so the whole thing behind the People's Choice Awards,
and I get why that came,
is to say the fans should have their choice, then the critics want to have their, because they're the experts, right? They're not, and they would say that our awards program is not nearly as self-congratulatory because we are the experts. We're not giving awards to ourselves. We're giving awards to the people who did the best work.
That we think deserve it. And, of course, we're right. And I guess that's my thing. So then I say, so it's not really everybody's getting an award, although it's everyone's giving an award. Maybe that's why it's like a certificate of participation, or it's like because you have a group of people, you guys can now give out an award. And it is what you're saying. It's like, no, I never grew up as a kid hoping I'd win the Chicago Critics, whatever.
By the way, if any Chicago film critics are listening to this, we love you. It's just, it's not personal.
Yeah, I hope they don't do anything to my next movie. Yeah, okay. But
do they get podcasting awards? I bet they do.
I'm sure there is, and I'm sure there's several different groups.
And we just screwed ourselves out of that one.
We're not. That was never in the cards, sweetie. Bless your heart.
Dream big.
But I mean, here's the thing. So you talk about the accuracy. So the film critics think they're right.
Uh-huh.
The Academy feels like it's right because it's peer versus, peer on peer. And then the People's Choice are like,
but only the good ones, because you have to be good to get into the Academy. They don't let, Adam Sandler is not a member of the. He probably is, actually.
I bet
because
Adam
he's made a lot of money.
He's made a lot of money, yeah. So, but there's the politicization of it. People talk about the Oscars a lot about being political. And so that's another thing. And so the fact that Whoopi, I'm going back in time a little bit, Whoopi, nobody won for Color Purple.
Nobody. Huge amount of nominations, and nobody won.
And everybody was just disgusted by it because it was absurd, because that was an amazingly crafted movie. I use that word. And
Spielberg went to Michael's and made a movie.
It's amazing what you can put together at Joanne Fabrics. Which is kind of ironic considering. Never mind.
So she lost to Geraldine Page, actually.
I'm sorry. Geraldine Page is like Meryl Streep. Yeah. They're going to give a good performance. Does it always merit getting another award?
Well, no. And she didn't deserve the award that year. But the point is, Geraldine Page had been nominated for 8 Oscars before this one, and it was finally before she dies.
Yeah.
She needs an Oscar.
So then what happened the next year, though? Speaking of that, Whoopi was in Ghost. Don't know if you saw Ghost. Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. The
immortal line, Molly, you in danger, girl.
That's what clinched it.
Such an amazing line reading Whoopi gave.
That was you talk about bubblegum. That's what that movie is. Okay, I'm not saying it's not fun and enjoyable.
But when Patrick Swayze took over her body, I believed it. I did.
Point being, was it Oscar worthy?
No,
But she got it because she didn't get it the year before, because Geraldine Page got it because she hadn't gotten it for 8 years before. And I will tell you this, and I think I'm right. I haven't looked at the numbers, but I think I am 100% right. If you portray, for the Oscars, if you portray someone who is disabled, if your character dies and you're nominated, or if you as a person die, Peter Firth Network, that's what, not Peter Firth.
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger is a good one. And Peter, why can't I remember his name? He was in Network. He died. Finch, that's it. You get an award. You're going to win.
Yeah.
Rain Man. I mean, name me an actor, My Left Foot. Name me somebody who didn't play somebody. Oh, Charlize Theron, when she played that ugly convict person, that serial killer person.
She won.
Yeah, she won.
And I don't think being a serial killer is a disability, but, you know.
No, but she made herself ugly.
But she made herself ugly. That was
and that's
the thing.
A disability, baby.
In Hollywood, that's a huge disability.
So, I mean, again, you go, does that make it accurate? No, they're, you know, so then I say, I get tired of the fact that they're everywhere. There's, you know, they're every weekend there's another award show.
There's a lot of them, but then, okay, so this is
so why are they all televised? They didn't used to be.
Because this is where my cynical mind takes over, because stupid people watch them, is why. If they didn't get any ratings, they wouldn't be on TV.
Well, no, that's true.
They wouldn't
be.
True. They wouldn't be. And the Golden Globes are fun to watch because people get drunk.
They do. So
they're smart with the Golden Globes. They've kept themselves relevant
they're very
by
casual.
plying the celebrities with alcohol.
Yeah.
So when they get up there to give a speech, they're drunk, and that's fun. And I think just in general, it's fun for us to watch celebrities as themselves, especially some of these actors who are not going to appear a lot on TMZ or Entertainment Tonight because they're not tabloid. You know, you don't get to see Meryl Streep be Meryl Streep.
No.
Very often, because she doesn't give a lot of interviews. And just, you know, Julia Roberts, kind of the same thing. But if you see them at the Oscars, it's like, okay, this is them being them.
Right.
You know, so Oscar night for me used to be like religion. I mean, I would mark the date on the calendar. I would have an Oscar party.
I remember that.
You know, and I would, and I think, I still believe that, like, being an Oscar winner, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Picture actually meant something. And now that I'm just a little bit more like, oh, it's so political and it's so... If I'm not doing anything else, I will still watch the Oscars.
Here's my thing. I record them. I record all award shows because I like to see the stuff I like to see, which is, like, the musical performances are usually going to be possibly interesting. Or, you know, sometimes something weird will happen, and so it's fun to see that.
Well, this last Oscars...
Yes, I know, that's what I'm talking about. But the whole, my you know, but I like, usually the opening is fun. Whoever the host is does something fun in the opening.
Yep.
But I don't watch them live because I get squidgy. I get very uncomfortable. I don't want to hear you, don't thank your Aunt Bess from 80 years ago. I don't give a shite. That's great, and I'm sure you do appreciate all she did. But I don't want to see all of that.
Aunt Bess than your agent. Every time they
get
there,
my gosh, isn't that ridiculous?
I just think, oh my gosh. Just, you know, your agent's now going to make a whole lot more money because of that award. So, you know, you've already thanked your agent monetarily.
Yeah, you thank your agent and then you forget your daughter. You're like, oh, okay, well done. But I don't ever watch them live because I want to be able to fast forward and get through it. And
I don't watch them if they're not live, just because I'll find out who won anyway.
Well,
and it's all about the suspense. It's when they call the name, that's when I need to know either now or I'll just read about it on Twitter the next day. Well, what's funny
is here's the downside for me is that because now with social media, at one point there was no downside. Recording it was the way to go on your VHR, but since the
VHR. God, you're
VCR. Old. VHS, VCR. I am. Oh my gosh. Wow, that was awkward. But anyway, that old thing. At least I didn't talk about the Betamax.
You just did.
I did, but I've only read about it. So with social media, it's fun to look at that in real time because people are tweeting.
Yeah.
And that can be a lot of fun. But I still can't do it with award shows because they are so bloody long.
Yeah.
There's so much of it. And I am cynical about it. I don't, you know, I just don't know that it means that much.
Well, and honestly, the people who win Oscars are the people who ran the best campaigns.
Well,
honestly,
it's
a campaign. I mean, people are campaigning
correct
for these awards.
But not only that, you sit there and are you telling me that in this full year, in this 365 days, there are only, now it's 10, but it used to just be 5, but there are only 10 performances or 10 movies that are contenders, and there are only 5 performances in each of the categories.
Yeah. And,
you know, depending on the category, sometimes it's just 3. And you're like, so there's only 3 editors that were Oscar worthy this year.
Yeah, you have
every movie's edited.
Yeah, but you have to look back at the rules, right? So I think the nominating rules are something like an editor has to have at least this much support among the Academy members in order to get the nomination. And they just do that to make it,
And every single award show has its own little caveats
all got their own
like
rules,
that.
Yep.
So I guess it's just...
And I just read something interesting about the way that the Oscars actually do their voting, which is that you rank them. You don't actually vote for your favorite. You vote, like, if there's 9 nominees, you order
rank
them 1 through 9. And then they count up all the votes, and whatever's in 9th place, they get rid of those. And those people, their second place choice now gets ranked. And they wait until one of the movies gets above 50%. So basically what they're looking at, and the end result of that is that the ones who win are the ones that have broad support as opposed to the ones that have any kind of passionate but perhaps polarizing support. So that's why it was such a shock last year when Moonlight actually won, because La La Land was probably everyone's second or third choice, if not first, and that's kind of now what's guaranteed to win.
Polarizing.
It is. Only because it's experimental. I mean, it's a black gay movie.
Right.
So there's that. But then there's also just the fact that it's much more like a European movie in a lot of ways than a kind of American the story arc, the way that the story gets told, the fact that there's hardly any dialogue in the last 10 minutes of the movie. It just kind of it was just interesting, and a lot of people really loved it, but then a lot of people were like, I don't get it. Whereas La La Land was pretty easy to get.
Right.
And I liked it. I mean, I like La La Land, but we're not dissecting last year's Oscars, completely, but it does. We get to these safe awards where the ones who win are not necessarily. And I like to think of people who really excel artistically as people who kind of broke new ground or did something daring or original, as opposed to kind of just made the same old movie again, but really well.
Okay, so here's what I want you to think about, because I want to continue on, but we're going to take a quick break for a second. So I guess my question is, why do we do this to ourselves? And, then kind of feed on some of the other stuff that we're talking about, the politicization of it. And then also, the hosting seems to be a big thing as well.
Oh, the worst job ever.
Yep. So, anyway, we'll be back.
You're listening to POPeration with Eric and Stacey. Take a deep breath. This may sting a little.
Okay, we're back. So we're into award shows. Why the hell do we watch these things?
And the loser is the audience. So I think I mentioned that there's a politicalness of it, in that you could win this year because you didn't win last year, but you deserved to.
Yeah.
But somebody else who didn't deserve to win last year, but she hasn't won forever, needed to win before she died.
And there's another thing, too. So there's another thing that makes it very political, which is one of the best ways to become a member of, and I'm talking specifically about the Oscars now, to be a member of the Academy is to be nominated for an award. That's one of the best ways to actually get into the Academy. Not everybody who's a member has been nominated, but usually that's how.
But does everybody who's been nominated, are they a member now?
I don't think so. I don't think it's an automatic thing. But that's a great way to get in. And the fact that there are 4 acting categories and only 1 category for every other role in Hollywood means that the acting wing of the Academy is huge. And that's why when Martin Scorsese was nominated for directing Raging Bull, the Oscar went to Robert Redford for Ordinary People because, oh, look, one of ours got nominated for Best Director, and that's who's going to get it.
Right.
When Emma Thompson was nominated for writing Sense and Sensibility, I thought she deserved it, not to take anything away from her. Right. But she was a shoo-in to win because all the actors went, ooh, an actor wrote a screenplay, so we're going to vote for the actor.
Right. So then it's like a popularity contest, but that's my whole thing, is that they're all kind of like that, though.
Sure.
I mean, you go into the Country Music Awards, and there's the Academy of Country Music, so there's the ACM Awards, and then there's the CMA Awards. And I feel like...
There's no MSA Awards?
Music. What?
Never mind.
Never mind. I missed all that. Oops. Pop culture fail. That's what that was. But I mean, it's like you know, kind of going in, who are the ones that are going to get? They're the ones who are going to perform.
Well, and if there's a surprise, that's always fun. And every once in a while, there's a surprise. So that's, you know, if you're an award show junkie, that's what you live for. That's why you watch, hoping that something will take you by surprise. Like when Marissa Tomei beat out all those old Brits and Australians.
Yeah,
all those
that
years
was
ago.
crazy. That was crazy. But I also remember last year, or at some, wasn't it? The last year, one of those country music award things, Beyonce showed up.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, Twitter was on fire.
Yeah.
And but that's another topic with regard to that. But it's like, I get that that's a surprise and that's fun to watch. Well, she sure as heck wasn't going to win though. She doesn't have cowboy boots. I mean, you know, it's like, I just feel like
the country music crowd would never have them.
No.
But they invited her, and
right.
And
but it's
she
just
played with the Dixie Chicks, I think.
I think so. Which that makes sense too. But it's just like I don't know. To an extent, I feel like there's so many award shows, and it's almost like, well, if you didn't get and it's not true. If you get the Golden Globes, you're probably going to get the Oscar. But it's also there's always, well, if you didn't get that one, maybe you'll get the Sundance Festival's award. Maybe you'll get the. It's like it's not quite a what's the word?
Participation?
Yes, award. But it feels like there's so many of them. And I just feel like it kind of, the more there is, the less exclusive it is. Although, on the other hand, extremely exclusive because, 4 people are winning every single award.
Yeah.
But I it's just, as an audience member, it's like if I watch the Golden Globes, I might see some drunk people up there. Great. There may be some fun moments. But it's almost like it's the same show every single time. And certainly if it's in one year, if you're watching the movie awards, they're all the same. If you're watching People's Choice in MTV, it's in VH1, they're all the same. If you watch the CMAs and the ACMs, it's the same. If I don't know. I just feels, I feel like it's the same thing over and over again, and they have a new dress.
Yeah, and and it is something where, all these celebrities are getting honored, and they're already celebrities. I mean, I'm not so much concerned about too many as much as I am, they actually do give humanitarian awards, but no one watches them on TV. I mean,
no.
so I don't think it's necessarily wrong to give out awards for artists who really are supposedly artistically the best, as opposed to that which made the most money. Right? I mean, if we just gave awards for box office, then every single movie that would ever be made from now to the end of time would be another Alien Invasion sequel blockbuster piece of shit.
Well,
so,
I think if that were the case,
nothing against Alien Invasion blockbuster sequel pieces of shit.
The Rock would have about 5 Oscars.
Yeah,
now.
And the point is that we want movies that are made to actually be good movies to make some money. And if an Oscar,
so you're thinking that awards do that.
Oh, yeah, I think... Okay, so Moonlight, last year's Best Picture winner, was the least profitable of all 9. And as soon as it won Best Picture, probably, also due to how it won Best Picture and that whole, weird story. But nonetheless, after it won Best Picture, it opened in 3 times as many theaters that had booked it previously. So, yeah, Moonlight made some coin off of winning the Oscar. And good, if it really is a good, and it is a good movie, I saw it. If it really is a wonderful movie, then yeah, let's encourage some ticket sales based on quality.
So do actors and actresses, do singers, musicians, do they get that bump in sales or that better role? Does that happen? I mean, where's Marissa Tomei right now?
Well, she got 2 more Oscar nominations after that one. So she'd done a little bit, yeah. Well, and there's this old kind of myth that some of these the supporting actress category in particular is kind of an actor's curse. You win the award and then you're never seen again. But yeah, I mean, I think that those who do win, sometimes it's seen that they peak too soon. Gwyneth Paltrow won Best Actress and then kind of fell off the face of the planet. But when somebody like a Meryl Streep wins for Sophie's Choice back in the 80s, all of a sudden she was Oscar winning, and of course she was. She deserved to be. And that's some cachet that she's carried through ever since.
Right. And I guess, you know what, you throw buckshot at it, you're going to hit something. So
Sure.
I guess that, there are those who, if we're looking at actors, Meryl Streep in the movie side, always going to.
Yep.
Bernadette Peters, Kristen Chenoweth, on the Tony side. And then, you have country singers I don't know as well, but you have your old school. I think Loretta Lynn just put out a new album, by the way.
Yeah.
Just a fun fact. But there's going to be some classics that they deserve those. But I guess my feeling with my cynicism is, they got the award, but there were a lot of people who get awards that don't deserve them.
Sure.
And so that's
sure.
I feel like. I don't know.
But I think these are celebrities. These are people, and it's performers, people who decided to take a rough kind of life, or risk, living in, squalor and waiting tables while they're trying to make it in the movies or music or wherever, because they have huge egos, or desperately small egos, and they're horribly insecure, and they need to get that kind of adulation. You're never going to convince them not to show up and pick up an award.
Right.
I guess where I'm thinking with the audience is we get what we deserve, right? Because we wouldn't necessarily be, subjected to a million award shows on TV if we didn't tune in.
No, you're right. Because I guess, and here's my thing. Who is the biggest winner out of the award shows? I don't think it's the actors. I don't think it's the audience. I've made that clear. I guess maybe it's the network that carries it because they're getting the advertising dollar.
It's not the host.
Maybe it's the advertising dollars. Darn tootin'.
So let's talk about the host for a minute. Before we close out, hosting these award shows has got to be...
I would not want it.
No, I'd run screaming from the offer immediately.
And yet there are those who've done it numerous times.
Yeah. Well, Billy Crystal's the best. He's absolutely the best.
That's interesting that you say that because there are lists, you can find them online, of people ranking on the Oscars, specifically ranking them. There are those that Billy Crystal is at the top of the list.
Yep.
But did you know? I would like to hear fun fact. Who do you guess? The first Oscars were in 1929. Okay. Okay, so that puts yourself there.
Yep.
Who do you think was the first host of the Oscars in 1929?
I don't know. I know
somebody it's a name you would know if you know anything about the silent movies and the early talkies.
Okay, so I'm guessing probably not Clara Bow or...
Not a girl. Are you kidding? Not a girl.
Wouldn't have been a girl. Rudolph Valentino.
That's a good guess, except he was kind of foreign and they didn't do it. But no, Douglas Fairbanks.
Okay.
Same, you're right there with it. But Douglas Fairbanks, which I thought was bizarre. And when I looked at the list of people, because I always think of it as Bob Hope.
Yeah.
He's the one.
Because he did it forever.
He did do it a lot of times. But... And one thing I think that Bob Hope did really well is it was the self-effacing. I'm never going to get an Oscar, but here I am giving them out. So, and I think that that's good in a host. And that's the thing is what does make a good host? You sit there, you say Billy Crystal, and he had some really good openings.
Yeah.
That's really what I remember openings for his awards. Neil Patrick Harris also does good openings, has done good openings for the Tonys, and he did the Oscars once, maybe, too.
I think so.
So that's sometimes that's one of the best parts is the opening for the Oscars or the Emmys or the Tonys or whatever award show it is.
Because after that, you're just a traffic cop.
But I mean, that's the whole thing is what is it a good host should be? They're because they get critiqued rather immediately now, but it used to be the day after for sure.
Yeah.
They're totally, and I don't know. Does that help their career? Are they the winners? If you're a host,
if you get away with it, but I think most of the time you're gonna subject yourself to way more criticism than you are praise for doing. I mean, it's a thankless job because once the show's going to be 4 hours long no matter what you do. It's going to seem boring, and you're going to get blamed for that because you're the constant. You're the one who's always there. And you can try to liven it up with little kind of bits in the middle.
Right.
But if they fall flat, then it just makes it even longer.
You can't make everyone happy all the time.
No.
And that's what I think that we sit there with the expectation. People go into the expectation of this host is going to be perfect, and they've got to be perfect every single time they come out. Yep. They've got to say the exact right thing. Their humor has to be exactly what my humor, and I mean, it's whoever's watching. That's 8 billion people. They all have what their perfect kind of humor is.
Yeah, and no one has the same level of edge in terms
Correct.
of what's offensive
and
what's
so, not. And then don't even bring in the, either religion or politics if there's anything that's brought in there. I mean, I don't know. It's just
worst job ever.
It seems like a really horrible job, and I would never do that. That just, as you said, it seems like putting yourself out there. It's like a high risk, low yield kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think there are a few that have done it well, but again, they don't do it forever. Even Bob Hope didn't do it forever.
No.
He did it, and then he took a break, and then he came back for a little while. But so that's that's how I feel about that. But you know what? It's funny because now you have your award shows, and they do run late.
Yep.
But that's not even when you start watching. You start watching the award shows way before then. And we're gonna talk
you mean
about
the red
that.
carpet?
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh.
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Be back.
Wondering what room you've stumbled into? Don't mind the scalpels. You're in the POPeration room with Eric and Stacey.
Okay, so we're back, and the loser is the audience. Award
okay, that's
shows
my working title. That's my not.
Oh, that's the title. We're keeping it.
Aye.
And before we kind of deliver the final prognosis on this one last topic we wanted to get to was the red carpet. These shows that, and you're about to say you don't watch the award shows at the beginning. You watch them earlier. I don't.
Well,
I don't
I will
watch
tell
it.
you.
I used to. Joan Rivers.
I was going to say, back in the day,
Joan Rivers,
that used to be the only thing that I would watch live because, as I said, I can't watch award shows, but I could watch the red carpet. I have a problem now, and with doing it because I feel like I've gotten older, and I'm also a little bit more sensitive to what they're doing. It's we don't care who you are or what your brain is like. Who are you wearing? And it's so shallow. It is so shallow. Again, I don't need everybody to go up there and say, so tell me, what's your favorite memory from childhood? I don't need that. But my point is not to go all the way that way.
Well, and then they ask the nominees if they're excited. Are you excited?
Well, durr.
Who are you wearing?
Durr. Yeah. You're at the Oscars. I mean, of course, or you're at the Emmys. You're at your industry's awards. You're at the BAFTA. Whatever it is, of course you're excited. But the whole red carpet thing, but I used to because I was judgy, and I loved the idea because Joan Rivers, she nailed it. She created that whole. She's the first one who went out there and did that red carpet thing like it's done. She whatever they do now, where they have 3 or 4 people on the carpet. At one point,
and
it
none
was
of them
just
are funny,
her.
and none of them are funny. I mean, that's the thing about Joan is that she was funny,
and I have a problem with that. Taking too seriously, people taking either A, what they're doing too seriously, B, what they're wearing too seriously.
So 2 things on that.
Or the award too seriously.
So 2 things on that.
It's a damn Oscar, or it's an Emmy, or it's a Tony, or whatever. It's not, you're not saving anybody's life.
True. And they all got these dresses for free.
Yeah, they did.
Because these designers,
all the jewels, everything is rented.
Or free.
Borrowed.
Well,
borrowed.
Borrowed.
It's not,
yeah,
they're not gifts. They have to give them back.
They have to give them back.
They're borrowed. Yeah,
but, these designers want nothing more than to dress actress du jour on the red carpet.
I'm wearing Givenchy. Okay.
Because
they get a pop.
And those designers absolutely expect that question to be asked, or they're going to stop giving them all those dresses. So there's this weird quid pro quo going on.
Okay, so maybe that's the thing. Maybe those are the winners. Maybe it's okay. So it's maybe the advertisers a little bit, but it's the networks because they get the advertiser money, and then it's the designers of the outfits. Because of the red carpet.
More than anything else, and some of their rich clients. I mean, you and I are not going to watch these things and go, "Ooh, I think I'll go to Oscar de la Renta and pick up a frock."
Right.
this weekend. I mean, it's like,
Melba, get Oscar on the phone. Thanks. Get Giorgio.
The other thing, though, is wasn't there some kind of social media campaign last year or the year before? It was like #AskHerMore. And it was just basically all about, like, when you're talking to these women on the red carpet, please get beyond what are you wearing and tell us about your hair and tell us about your shoes. I think there was this kind of thing.
And here's the thing is, so no, I don't need to know all about, everything in your life. I don't really, I don't care.
I don't give a shit about you.
I don't care at all. You were there to entertain me in one aspect or another.
Dance, monkey, dance.
That's right. And so I don't care. At the same time, don't sit there and talk to me about I'm working on my craft and not be able to answer the question, so which song on your album that was nominated for Album of the Year is the most meanwood to you?
Yeah, or why do you think this movie is resonating with so many people?
Right. I think that that would be interesting. That would be insightful. Yeah. But again, that's not what these shows are trying to do.
And then put them in the 360 thing where we can see the dress from every single angle.
Please turn your back and let me see your ass. It is the most... That's what I have a hard time with it now, is it's really, they stand there and they're looking lovely and they're answering the questions and say, turn around. Bite me. Who the fuck are you? What do you mean turn around? I mean, and they do because it's a pony show and they do it. And that's the thing is, so what are these for? They're to make money. It's like everything is to make money.
Well, and I think it's interesting that we're ending on the whole red carpet piece because it is the shallowest part of the entire experience. And which is why I don't watch them. If somebody's, if I want to appreciate the way somebody looks or whatever they decided to wear to the Oscars, I'll see it during the show.
But I do think, I will say this about the red carpet show, and one reason you're talking about they're not funny anymore, and because people don't want to take risks. They want to be vanilla. They want to be that Dick Clark / Ryan Seacrest kind of, I am this nice person and we're not. Joan Rivers.
And not at all gay. What are you wearing?
Yeah. Not at all. Bite your tongue. So, I mean, Joan Rivers, and again, she judged. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's missing. That sounds awful because you're not going to sit there and say, well, that's not a color I would have chosen for your skin tone, but.
Hello, Joan. What are you wearing? I hope you didn't pay for it. Yeah.
But I mean, that's a humanness, and that's what's kind of missing. It is kind of robotic now. It's like, are you excited? Yeah. They nod yes. It's pause for their nod. Mm-hmm. What are you wearing? Pause for them to tell the name. Well, you look lovely. Good luck, and there they go. And that's literally I've just done the red carpet. I could record it.
Well, you could do that. You're not going to be the host, but you could definitely do the red carpet.
I don't. I mean, I could be judgy.
But I would love that.
But
you would be an American phenomenon. You would make no friends.
You lost your freaking mind.
Oh, Hollywood would never have you back. But the audience, the audience.
You know what?
I
can get
you.
it. It's like that. I Married a Millionaire. Or what is it? Joe Millionaire? Remember that? It was a reality show.
Yeah.
And the whole premise, it was like all of those Bachelor ones. And the whole thing
but then they found out he was dirt poor.
He was really dirt poor. Yeah. But at the whole time, they thought he was Joe Millionaire, and so they could never play that. You can't do that game. That's not an ongoing show. No. You've shot your wad in one go, and that would be me.
I would love to see the women who would show up for season 2 of Joe Millionaire. I would love to meet them.
You know what they had to do? They had to go across the pond. They went to Europe.
Oh,
and
great.
It was Joe Millionaire in the Europe. And that's because they couldn't do it in America, because American was like, hell no.
In the Europe.
Did I say in the Europe?
You did.
Hashtag Merca.
Okay. So, final prognosis. Award shows, go.
I think that they are probably a necessary evil. I think you're right. I think that people need to feel like they get appreciated. And unfortunately, I think that sometimes it's just everybody standing in a circle and everybody's patting each other on the back, and the rest of us get to watch. And so it's not always the most fun for the audience. But I think they're not going to go anywhere, and I think there's going to be even more. I think there's going to be. It's just they're like rabbits.
Yeah. So my final prognosis is there's probably too many of them, but I would also say to people who don't like them, don't watch them.
We could have started at that, and this podcast would have been 1 minute long.
It would have been a lot shorter. But I do think that there is a germ of, some of them are, none of them are more important than any other of them. But I think it is important to reward quality, especially if it can make movies and music and TV that is good profitable.
If it gives somebody an aspiration, and I think sometimes it does. Those who are not cynical like us, it is still aspirational to win an award in whatever industry you're in. Sure,
yeah. But I think that, again, I've also heard people say, well, it's just an honor to be nominated. But they'll also say, it's really about the work. I'm much more, the Brits are very, and I believe them. I believe some of the Brits when they say, look, when I nail a scene and I know it's good, that feels better to me than walking up on any stage.
And that's a whole other show. British actors British artists versus American artists and how they look at their art.
Yeah.
That is another discussion.
Well, it's all about how seriously they take themselves.
Exactly.
All right.
And so there we go.
In the future, on POPeration, there'll be that. We'll do that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where we are on award shows. Thank you for listening, and this is Stacey.
Hit that subscribe button. This is Eric.
You've been listening to POPeration with Eric and Stacey. If this POPeration was successful for you, don't forget to subscribe. Stat. Check out our blog and other extras at www.thepoperationroom.com. You can also follow us on social media on Facebook and at POPeration Room on Twitter. Music for POPeration is provided by PurplePlanet.com.